எல்லாத்தையும் பேக்
full screen का
க்ளோஸ் பண்ணாம இருக்கு.
இல்ல இப்ப கரெக்ட்டா
அப்படிதான் சொல்லுவாங்க.
சரி பண்ணாம
சொல்லி புரியுது.
Hello, sir.
Hello, hi. Okay, so can we start? Okay. ठीक है. So I think now we are going to talk about the file that I have sent you all. Please open that up.
File title session 29th March.
Session 30th March 2021. .r and R file is given, and also 2 text file is also given.
Please find your mail, but if you don't have it, just let us know.
Okay, you have opened it?
Not yet, sir. We have yet to send the mail.
Okay, no problem.
Participants will receive the mail in a few minutes.
I think I have replied in the previous day's email only.
We have the mail, but we haven't got to send it to participants yet. So.
Okay, no problem. Just take a couple of minutes, no problem.
Participants, you should receive a mail shortly, which will contain all 3 files requested this. Please check your mail. You should have received your mail right now.
Put all the files, 3 files are there in the email. Put it in the same folder what yesterday you have created. Yesterday we have created a folder, right? So put all the 3 files in that.
So we got the files and start.
Everybody's got it, right?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay, great. So you put all the 3 files in the same folder what we have yesterday created. Now in set WD, in the code what you have it. In the code I have something. You give the folder path like was what we have done yesterday. Change your set WD with the current path. Yesterday we have done it, right? This is very important, otherwise data will not be read. Everybody has set it. After setting, please tell me yes, it is done. So set WD, do it properly. To give your folder path, what you have created yesterday. Because now everything that you need to, so you don't have to type it immediately. So things are available. Only thing is that you need to do something so that your data is being read correctly.
ಇದು ಇನ್ಸ್ಟಾಲ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದು
Yes, is it done?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Great, excellent. Now let us start our, let us execute the first line. So this is what I executed. Now select this line, data is equal to read dot table. Execute this line. So in my case, it has run properly. Just check it out, everyone. For everyone, it is running properly or not. This line got executed successfully.
மாத்தி போட்டீங்களா வேண்டது
Anybody got any error in loading the data?
Error cannot open.
I think some people got some error in loading the data.
Paste it here. Participants, you can open the 30th March file if you are writing it down. There's already codes are already there. You can actually use the codes. No, you have to copy this code. Like we need to open the add project.
Yes, that also you can do from 29th folder. This file, you can get the first line copied and paste it in the session 30th March. I think in the right side, are you all done? So this data got loaded correctly? Just copy the first line from the 29th lecture to 30th lecture first line. That's it.
And software is actually.
It's one of the package. ரெண்டு ஒரே ஃபைல் TXT.
இல்லை முறையில்
We need the data to be loaded at least. So in the left side, your data is being loaded.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay. Now I think on the right side, maybe we need. Because if you cannot load those data, like you will not be able to see the nice pictures in your PC. You have to see it here. And if you are writing that folder path name, then you have to ensure that you are putting a forward slash, not backward slash. Okay. So at least one of them, one of you is done. This data line executed successfully. Yes, it's done, right? It's done?
Done.
அது இங்கிலீஷும் இருக்குது.
Command mistake. இது insert மாதிரி command mistake. அது select பண்ணிச்சுங்க ரெடியா இருக்கு.
Okay, now should we continue?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so here we can see that we have got this data loaded here. First of all, yesterday we have seen that we need to know what are there in the data. What are the names, right? Then you see that there are some variables are there, and right. So how can we access? It is species dollar. If we give species, so this is some information about some species is there, right? Some fish species is there, and if you write down this unique of data dollar species, then we are going to get what are the names of the species that is given over here, right? So Parambasis, Mistus, Nothoceras, that is a small swampok. What is this? Eclochilis, something like that. So some information about the species are there, right? And what are the other variables? Okay, so these are, I think, some indicators of some of the physicochemical responses of that fish. This is the maximum information what I have about it. Now, so these fishes are being taken from some particular locations, from some, yesterday I was talking about some water bodies, and they have been experimented in the lab, and some parameters from those fish, I think some physicochemical parameters from those fish being recorded. And these parameters are like this GPX, GSH, estradiol, cortisol, testosterone, KT, SCHE, MDA, so different there. So this is something like, if these are the how, what are the variables, what are the changes or the observations we are getting on the fish, from the fish. And the fish in the ponds which these fish are being inhabiting, they have some other water quality parameters. This is the data. The next data, which is about this water is equal to, you can select this one and execute this. So now you can see that what are the names of this water. So these are some site IDs, that what are the water bodies is there. These are month, and their temperature, pH, alkaline, dissolved oxygen, dissolved carbon dioxide, hardness, salinity, concentration of lead, copper, cadmium, zinc, everything. So we may possibly, right? And we can view this data also, view water. Then what we are getting, as you can see that for month wise, if you see for different months, there is a temperature, pH, alkaline, these values are over there, right? Right. So these values are there, and from every side there are observations from the on the fish also, which is the first, which we have seen in the first data. So one is, we have one data is data which is physiochemical observations on from the fish, or I think these are different expressions of the enzyme. Somehow I don't know about it, but this water is the water quality parameters, right? So let us see. Now I want you to install a package. Now come into this line. So write down library, say car. Please write down library car and execute this line. You must get an error. Library car. So I want you to write down only this much. Only this much. That library car. Did it run properly? No, right? You must have gotten an error. The package is not available or something. Yes? So now install this package. Go over into here, packages. Can you click over here, that packages here? Click here, you will get a list. Now click on this install button. See that you got this page? I'm repeating once again. Go to this, suppose plots, you are in plots. Go to this package and then click on install. And you get this space over here. And you write down car. See that this car package is coming over here, right? And then click install. Is that process clear?
Sir, could you please repeat?
Yes, I'll repeat once again. What do you do? You are looking at the plot in the right, right? Now you click on the packages, then click on install. If you can see that there is some symbol and install is there, right? Right? And then you write down here car. So please install this.
Yes, sir. Next.
Yes.
Okay. But all data is deleted. It is installed. Some error.
Okay, so this is car. You clicked install, so it will should install in your PC. Is it done?
Yes, sir. It is installing now. Right?
Okay, excellent. Internet connection has to be there.
Actually.
Sorry. Right? And then you see that I have taken some 3 packages also. In the same way, you install these 3 packages, rest of the 3 packages also in the same way.
Select. Showing some
No, it's installed. But it's downloading. That's fine. Just download.
Installation done? Okay, once these packages are installed, please let me know. Not installed yet?
Updated for the packages.
Okay, so maybe what we can do, we may not wait for all to be done. So at least one person, or at least one, it got all the packages are installed, all 4. Anyone, can you please raise the hand that for whom all 4 packages are done? Yes, you are done with this.
Very good.
I see one hand is being raised. So all 4 packages are done for you.
No doubt, sir.
No, I'm asking that the packages are installed, right?
Yes, sir. Installed, sir.
Okay, great. That's what I was. Now you come to the next line. Because you can see that these are 4 lines. It's a big piece of line is there. So okay, after packages is done, then what you do, you consider write down this attach data. And attach is water. Okay, execute this line. Now next to execute this big line, you should be able to get such a picture. You have got this picture? Yes?
Yes.
Oh, very good. Now this is basically the best part. If you know little bit by practicing, by experimenting, if you get little bit handy in art, now imagine that the picture you have generated, how much time it would have been taken for you to generate all these pictures separately, then putting them together in PowerPoint or something, then putting it in the research paper. It had been very difficult, right? But these pictures are very informative to you. What is that? It talks about this histogram or the density function of the concentration of lead in 4 different
This one.
water bodies. So water body 1, 2, 3, 4. As you can see that this pink, this blue color and pink color, so that means which is 1 and 2. Here the concentration of lead is lower as compared to the densities what you observe in water body at 3rd and 4th. Yes or no? Is this picture making sense? Okay. Now similarly for copper also, as you can see that this red one, what is called this pink one, and this blue one, which is a lower concentration, whereas and for the locations for the water bodies 3 and 4, the concentration is very high, right?
So coming something error in scatter plots.
Sir, here we are getting some error, sir.
Can you see this plot here?
No, not coming.
Not coming, sir.
Okay, nobody has got this plot? What is that error coming?
Scatter plot matrix.
Scatter
Error.
plot matrix.
Couldn't find the function.
Scatter plot matrix.
Couldn't find the function of the scatter plot matrix.
Okay, so did your this function this ran properly? This library.
Yeah.
So this library must execute properly.
The 3, 4.
திருப்பி ஃபர்ஸ்ட் இதுல இருந்து
அந்த காலேஜ் இன்ஸ்டால்
இன்ஸ்டா லைப்ரரி இன்ஸ்டா ஆயிடுச்சு சார்.
Okay, at least for one person it has run for a candidate.
Yes, sir. 1% it runs. 2%.
Okay, okay. So I think we can sort it out the problem. But what message I want to give that this is a very useful function which is scatter plot matrix. At a single goal, you can get multiple information about the thing. So for example, I'm just writing. Suppose I'm just writing scatter plot matrix. So it is inside the car package. You can see that it is inside the car package. It is there. So like some internal problem may be there. So I'm not able to resolve it. So scatter plot matrix, if you give this say lead plus copper plus cadmium, okay. If you plot it, you see that automatically you get these nice, beautiful pictures. So this is basically the concentration of lead, the distribution of lead across all sites, right? So this is the data when you have all the sites together, okay. And so this is the relationship between lead and copper. There is a significant positive relationship is there. And this is the concentration of cadmium and concentration of copper. So as you can see that, like this is sometimes known as a scatter plot matrix. So many research papers you will see that it being reported also. But what is the problem here? You are not able to identify whether, because there are 4 different locations are there, right? So you want to know whether such a pattern is true across all locations or not. So that is why you can give one more variable with this command, which is the site ID. So now if you execute this, you see that these pictures are coming now with respect to different sites also. Now the original data being broken into 4 different parts across the sites. Only I added one vertical line and site ID. The pictures got completely changed. This is the best part about using R and what the flexibility we take. You need to, once you know about some of the packages, your life is very much easy. Believe me, life is very much easy. Only initial time you need to take little bit of effort, but after that it is very easy. And then you can play with the colors and all sorts of options and other things you can play around this.
Sir, after the cadmium, 27. What is the
vertical line and site ID? I'll just keep it as separate. You can check, you can play with all the predictors, all the variables in your data using this scatter plot matrix. Okay. So is it fine? Okay. And the next step, what we have done, from this property, we can see that this water body 1 and 2, they seem to have a similar profile, and whereas water body 3 and 4, they seem to have a different profile. And what we can do, we can possibly separate the data. We can create a subset of the data which will contain only the information about site 1 and site 2. So this is the code what it does. So execute this line, execute this line. Since it is online mode, I thought of conducting a case study only, so that how things are being we do, it is getting more clearer. Is it executed properly? This line, water underscore 12. The codes are with you. Then you have, so you also collect the information of the species only from the site 1 and site 2.
This function was not run, so the bucket doesn't know previous data, so we need to call it data. Since we have the same way we should run this before we run the whole. So now once we run this, we should get this output. Let's see.
Execute these two lines.
You can touch this
ID.
Is it fine? Is it executed successfully? These two lines?
Sir, why do we use the double equal?
Sorry, double equal. This is a checking whether site ID is 1 or not. So this line will collect. So this is a subset option. So my whole data is of water data. I am subsetting the data according to site 1 and site 2. So I am creating a new data set which are going to consider information only on site 1 and site 2.
We don't learn
The data files initially. The first steps in the data files we did run those.
Yes?
Now
Understand the logic behind it, that I am subsetting the data. I am out of my full data set. I am creating two more data set where information about site 1 and 2 there, and another one information about site 3 and 4 is there. Right? Is that clear? Okay. Then we have species data. Now let us, there are 7 different species fish we have seen that, right? Now let us consider only one particular fish, say Parambasis, from the location 1 and 2 only. Is that clear? So what I'm saying you, There are information about fish. 7 fish are there. We are collecting only one particular fish, which is Parambasis, and I'm collecting the data of that fish only from the location 1 and 2. Is it clear? Making sense?
இது ரன் பண்ணி தான் எனக்கு இது வந்துச்சு. ஓகே. அதுக்கப்புறம் இது ரெண்டு டைப் பண்ணேன்.
So let me execute this line.
24 ல இருந்து
2 lines. Now let us see what is there in Parambasis. If you view it, 1, 2. If you execute this, right? So this is the data which is only for the Parambasis fish. Okay. This is the data which is the response, which is the variables only corresponding to Parambasis. Is it clear? Or at the location 1 and 2. Okay. Now the same process we are going to do for the location 3, 4 also. Execute this line. So the codes are there with you. Execute it. After execution, you will understand it. So I want to execute this complete part. Is this line executed successfully? Yes or no? One answer would be helpful.
Not yet, sir.
Run it or not run?
Not yet.
See that the codes are there with you right now. You can just execute it.
Okay.
I'll explaining it step by step. Okay.
You can follow the codes and then we can try and run it later.
Okay. Now consider this line, this Parambasis, from Parambasis to this legend. This is the piece of code that we selected and execute it. Is that the plot you have got? This is something what is known as a non-metric multi-dimensional scaling. I'll explain what it is. One of the exceptionally powerful tool for ecologists, for environmentalists understanding the data and with respect to other variables. It is basically you have a lot of variables, right, for one species. It is a multi-dimensional situation. What do? You project that multi-dimensional data into 2-dimensional plot. Here also you can see that it is easily got reflected that 1 and 2, which is black and this little bit reddish one, these two are forming a single group and this two is forming a group. So that means it says that the behavior of the fish collected from these 4 different locations are forming 2 different clusters. So that means from the location 1 and 2, the physicochemical response of that fish is very much different than the physicochemical response of the fish in the other two locations. And multidimensional scaling is showing you clearly distinctive like separation of that, right? Yes, its response, its behavior in these two locations are very much different. It's exceptionally powerful tool called non-metric multidimensional scaling. Again, I'm repeating, you have a multidimensional data and you get a projection of those data on a two-dimensional plane. So that means on the XY plane, what you are looking at here. And here from this picture, it is very much clear that these two, so here this one, this species, its response in this fish 1 and 2, is and 3 and 4, they are completely different. Now, what are the things to be checked here? Once you get this plot, when you're analyzing your data in a multivariate situation, you need to ensure that whether the variation, there are 4 groups we can see from 4 different locations, whether the variation or the variance associated with each group is same or not. So that means the variance associated with this data, say black dots, along this x-axis, so which is known as the principal axis 1, NMDS 1, and whether this is variance associated with these black dots and associated with these red dots, they are same or not, or here also it must be recorded that whether the variation, you have got 4 different distinctive clusters, and whether in the NMDS place along the x-axis and along the y-axis, along the 2 axes of the NMDS plot, whether we are having a significant difference in the variance or significant difference in the mean or not. In this case, these two are very much distinct cluster is forming. So we are almost certain that there is a significant difference between the means along the x-axis, NMDS axis. But there may not be a significant difference in the mean along the y-axis. Because once you project these data sets over here, and these data sets also over here, they are going to be around here. Is that clear? So when you form these clusters, please understand it very, very carefully. When you form these clusters, we need to ensure that whether the clusters are homogeneous in nature or not. Suppose you have collected data from 4 or 5 different locations. Those who are collecting the survey, somebody is working on ethnobotany, somebody is working on some ecological problems, or some plants length or something you are measuring. When you have collected the data from different locations, possibly you might have collected the microclimatic conditions also from there. And when even for a particular plant, I am very naive in this, but as my logical understanding says that this microclimatic conditions has an impact on the traits of the plant that we are talking about. So its fruit size, it could be fruit size, it could be taste or whatever. So if we collect this data of some particular species and from different locations, its response might be different. And how we are looking into that, whether the response are different or not, that with respect to different site ID from different locations or regions that you have collected, you perform a non-metric multidimensional scaling. It is a multivariate technique where from different locations you have the responses. So it's a multi-dimensional data. So you project it on a 2-dimensional place. So with respect to every region, you are going to have different clusters. Now whether these clusters are significantly having the similar variation, or whether the clusters have similar mean or not, this we can check it out. And check it out how? Along the axis of the non-metric multidimensional scaling. So that means along this axis, along this axis. If these points are being projected over here, these values will be here. If these values are being projected over here, they will be over here. As you can see that along the NMDS axis, there is a significant difference in the mean in the center of these clusters, whereas they may have a similar variance, right? Whether there is a similar variance or not, that we need to check. So this is the way how we can check it out. We execute this line. We have created a new data. And what is this new data? If you see this head of D, this is, so these are the axis 1 values, means this being projected over here. And second one is the axis 2 values. So that means these are being projected on the y-axis. And you have the site variable. So there are total different 4 sites are there. So if you see tail of this D, then at the end you see the last 6 observations. There are all the 4s are there, right? This is a very, very important test. Leven's test and Bartlett's test and 2K HSD, which is most of the time this is known as a post hoc analysis. What is that? Does that mean? So suppose that you have collected your data from 4 different locations. Okay. So for example, you're talking about somebody will talk about plant height, suppose, of some particular species. So and different, say you have 4 different states you have collected it. And if it is not by geography, you may have a classification with respect to microclimatic conditions. And so suppose that 4 different regions where the data has been collected. And each of the region, once you combine this data, you are going to have a single mean value. And for each of the region, you can have a different mean values. Now, whether you mean value for each of the locations, they are equal or not, for doing that, what you perform? You perform ANOVA, right? That is what you call ANOVA, that comparing means. You assume that the data from each of the locations that you have collected, those are normally distributed, and you perform an extension of the t-test, which you call it as an ANOVA. And once the ANOVA for null hypothesis, it says that all means are equal, right? Mu1 equal to mu2 is equal to mu k. That typically you see, right? Now, if your ANOVA test is rejecting the null hypothesis, so that means what? At least 2 locations differ in their population mean. It does not say that all the locations have different mean. It only says that at least 2 locations differ by their mean. Now the next question comes. Immediately, we never leave it here. We have to go further, which is known as a post hoc analysis or 2K's honest significant difference test. Now you look for the pairwise differences. That which pairs, so either location 1 is different than location 2, or location 3 is different than location 4, or location 1 is different than location 3. This has to be reported, and it is commonly executed by the ecologist by using the very useful function in R called as a 2K HSD. So 2K is a famous statistician by his name. It is known as a 2K's honest significant different test. So this is the function, as you can see, by which you can see that along x-axis across all sites, whether we have the significant difference in the axis or not. So let us execute this first one first. Right? As you can see that this is some difference you have got. You can actually get a nice plot also here. I think they offer some plot also. So if I put this everything over here and say I'm just writing a plot of it. Yes, it has given it. So what it says that there are 4. There are 4 locations, right? So see that 1 and 2, there is no significant difference. This is the 0 line. So difference between 2 and 1, there is a 0 contains inside it. So that means there is no significant difference. 3 and 4. The zero line contains over here. So that means there is no difference between 3 and 4. Whereas there is a significant difference between 3 and 1, 4 and 1, 3 and 2, 4 and 2. These differences, this confidence interval for the differences is much away from the zero. Believe me, this is the picture explicitly we have given in our latest publication with which we have done with our collaborators. These are the figures which we are generating. These all are publication quality figures. Take it, put it in the, and when you are submitting, give it. So because this is something which, whether there is any significant difference across locations or not, that you need to understand, that we need to report. And we found that these two locations, they do have a very similar kind of data. Similarly for axis, for other axes also you can do the same thing. And Bertrand test and Levens test, these are another two very, very useful tests. So if you want to know a little bit more about them, you can write down help Bartlett's test. Automatically help file has come, right? It is a Bartlett test for null of the variance in each groups of samples are same. So that means you have collected. So ANOVA talks about what? That whether the mean value that you have collected from different locations has the same population mean or not. And Bartlett test that talks about whether the variance associated with variance of the data in all the 4 locations, they are same or not. Both are equally important. Remember it. Both are equally important and both needs to be reported in your research paper. Okay. So just let me just give me a second. Don't think it is this one. Okay, just wanted to show you that. Okay, as you can see that this is the experiment in the lab, what they have conducted. And you can see that there are at different concentration level, the measurement has been taken. Whether there is a significant difference between different concentration level or control or not, this picture says it all, right? That this level, there is no difference between there because they contain this value. So this is at a 95% level of confidence intervals, right? So these are the pictures which is very, very informative, at least when you are performing ANOVA and when you are comparing population means of different locations. And at that time, these pictures, these figures are very, very important. And as you can see that like these are not these are being considered for as a publication quality figures itself. Right. So similarly, this Levens test and Bartlett's test, they are being used for comparing the variances. So how to read that? Say Butler's test says that is homogeneity of variance, that in both the cases homogeneity is variance. So by axis 1, Butler's K test is this, p value is 0.71, so p value is very high, right? So where is the picture? So your null hypothesis is accepted, right? You cannot reject the you cannot reject the null hypothesis, because if the p value is very, very small, then you reject the null hypothesis. And your null hypothesis, all four groups have the same variance along x-axis, along the first principal axis. So if you plot this, so the variation of these data along this, the variance over here, and the variance along this, they have a same variance. So this is how this is to be interpreted. Whereas in axis 2, if I execute this line, here p value is 0.18, p value is much, much smaller. As you can see that here the variation with this group 1 and 2 along y-axis, this much group it is, so its variation is high as compared to this. Although statistically it is not significant, but graphically you can easily see that here the variation a bit higher as compared to this, but this is not significantly higher at a 5% level of significance. So please note that these p values and everything which is being said over here, this must be explicitly reported in the data analysis that you are doing. You need to give an evidence whatever you have got. And these are the statements which makes your conclusion very strong and very objective in nature. This is what it says. Okay, so two new tests that we have seen, that what listed relevance test. So independently, like had we more time, so in that case we definitely could consider this ANOVA and then testing, then other things like separately in different sessions and appropriately discussing all of them. But through this online, and I had to take some kind of case study where at least I can show you that you can, without safely, by understanding the data properly, you can continue analyzing real data using this software R. And whatever the results that you are getting and those values and everything, you can report it to the in your research publications and analyze them. So next coming out to be, now suppose that you now ordination for individual sites 1, 2, and 3. Now suppose that I am considering, now the question I am revising. That means suppose I am considering that there are 7 different fish species and I am considering only one water body, say site 1. Now from 7 different fish being collected over there. Now I want to know, is the behavior, is the physicochemical response of all the 7 fish species are similar, although they have been taken from the same pond, whether they are similar or not. Let us try to do that. So now again I am subsetting the data by water 1. So that means I am collecting only the data water parameter for the water body 1. Then I am considering only species for the site ID 1. So that means where for the first location I collect all the species. Then water 2 and species 2. So this is the data contains water parameter from site ID 2. That means for location 2 and species 2 for location 3. Similarly, again this is for water body 3. Again this for water body 4. So as you can see that when you have the data in your hand, a whole lot of questions, whole lot of multiple concerns like points are coming into your mind. Every time it is being bothered. That are the same? Is that statistically valid? So if they are whether they are of the same kind or not. So whether with respect to fishes are also can be grouped into a similar behaving across different regions. So this type of questions automatically comes when you understand the data very well. So that is why I always ask for the raw data, because this data comes up most of the time. What happens, that is the goal, something goal they had, but once you understand the data very neat and cleanly, many some new good research questions comes up, and that actually add value to your data analysis. As an ecologist or biodiversity researchers, it is very important that what's the evidence you have got, data you have got, every aspect, every directions of this data, every localized portion of the data being understood very clearly, visible, very clearly understood with appropriate statistical methodology being considered. Right? So that's why for that, the first part is that you need to understand your data very well. So again, this is something what they did not ask. They did not ask for. I thought that, okay, let me try to understand it, whether all the species has a similar response or not. So I collected this parambasis data, say for all the different 4 locations. Right? Then I'm considering the second species. You don't have to run it. The code is there with you. So do this for the same analysis, do this for the second species, second fish basically. And this is for Notopterus. And this is for paddies. What I did here, I just collected all the fish separately from the 4 locations. Then again, it is so much, and then we have Sompo. For the 7 fish piece, I have written it. Now then for the last species, we have this. Now what I did, I considered all the fish species only from the location 1. Now let us see whether this behavior of this all the fish is similar from location 1 or not. So created a new data, again multidimensional scaling. Note that we are dealing with the real data. Yesterday also we have done the same thing. So what we are doing, this is what we are discussing. So there are n number of slides we have, n number of ideal scenarios we have. Please note that these are not ideal scenarios. As a practitioners, as those who are research students, postdocs, as a practitioners, you need to ensure that if there is something challenge, there are problems, at least I am very happy. So it immediately gives me a lot of access to delve deep inside the thing. So when the problem is there, I am very highly satisfied. And it is not getting solved, I am getting more satisfied. So that means by solving this problem, by solving this and looking into it, multi-discipline, multi-level, lot of new dimensions, new directions have come up. So now let us see that. Now let us plot this. So this is then we already hull we plot. So these are the responses. These are the multi-dimensional scaling plot for all the fish at site 1 itself. Right? And the legend. So this is for different fish. Right? It's so nice, right? And you can see that these 2 fish, which is this red color, which is Badis, and this one is Notopterus. These guys are a bit behaving separately, and these species are behaving in the similar way. Now, when I said that, is it the case? Then they said that yes. Response of these 2 fish, they are some same class or something. They have my collaborators have identified. I forgot it anyway. But even I didn't know about all the species biology. My data is actually telling that these 2 seem to be a little bit different than them. Right? So similarly, now one thing you need to check when you are writing, that whether this multidimensional scaling has been done in the right way or not. So that means the algorithms has convergence properly, and this is the it is explaining the original, that multidimensional representation of the data. It's not getting lost. That when you're projecting into 2-dimensional space, little bit of loose is there, right? Little bit of information we are losing, but whether are we really losing significant information or not, that is what matters. So for that you can actually check about stress plot. This is the function which is called stress plot. If you run this, it will show you a stress plot of this form. So non-metric fit R square. If this R square value is very high, that you can be assured that yes, you did not lose much of the information about the when you are projecting a multi-dimensional thing into a lower dimensional thing. Is that clear? So whatever the distinctive behavior of the species in a multi-dimensional space with all parameters would have been there, when you're projecting it, that information is remained there. Is that clear? So let me just show it to you what. Okay, so right now immediately I'm not able to just find it out, because this is something in one of the recent work that is proposed as well, that we given as well. So where we are now let us try to understand that whether the similar behavior being observed with respect to site 2 also or not. Right, so this is the plot, this is with respect to site 2, but if you can see that this is always getting a separate place. So similarly you can see that for the other locations also, for location C also. Things are a bit very much distorted over here. Immediate question comes at why they are being more distorted. So here these guys got very much distorted, whereas this baddies and these guys remain similar. The reason being is very simple. This site 3 and site 4, there is a heavy metal contamination is very high. So every species does not have the same capacity of of responding to that. Similarly, we have this stress plot that has to be provided. Here also you can see that the R square is very high. Similarly, we can consider it for the site 4 as well. So here also you can see that this contamination and whatever it is pretty high. So not everyone is being responding at the same manner. Right? Now this is something after we got this. Now what is the automatic next question led us? That when you observe, so what we did here right now, please try to understand it. This is, you have understood the structure of the data, you have understood the problem in hand, you have understood that what kind of a multivariate methods give us a very nice representation in a two-dimensional space, and non-metric multi-dimensional scaling. Believe me, if you search for any of the ecological statistics where applying statistics, and many of the statistical ecology books or R books, this is one of the method which is uniformly almost present in all the books and case studies. Lot of research papers, because whenever we are collecting the data, whether collecting from the species assemblage in a pond or in the sea, or every time, or we are talking about a species growth in a different microclimatic conditions, every time we basically collecting information which is a multivariate in nature. And if we want to understand this multivariate data and we want to get a two-dimensional flavor of it, MDS, multidimensional scaling, is a very, very powerful method and very popular also. So people are using it and publishing it, reporting in the research papers. And what are the techniques, methods we have talked about? Without any hesitation, safely you can do it. But before doing it, of course, we all have to ensure that we understood your data extremely well. R is secondary. The codes which if you ask me any time you drop an email to me, there are n number of ready-made codes we will be providing. So every time I write it. So there is no time that I recollect some other codes, something. Whenever I get a new data, immediately I write down everything again. So I try to understand everything from a different angles and see that what is input saying. Multiple rounds of discussion I do that. I feel is it true? Okay, then I try to understand species biology as a little bit. So of course I don't understand this complete thing. You are the expert in that. So, but this interaction should happen because otherwise the statistical methodology is take you to the completely wrong direction also. So this is very, very important. So please, as a researcher, you always please have to ensure this. If your statistics friend or your mathematics friend or a programmer friends they say something, don't blindly believe it. Please, please make sure that you ask adequate questions to them. So this is what I am feeling. If possible, understand the codes also. You may not need to the all the derivations of stat math derivations, forget about it, but would given a little bit of proficiency in R or Python, this programming, which eventually all the research scholars in their PhD time they get it. So there is not a problem. And thanks to a lot of open sources availability of that. So almost all the research scholars they get it. So no problem with that. But please don't blindly believe them. It is because they are not the expert. So we are not the expert in your domain. So if the way you understand the plant biology, you understand the distributions, the way you understand the chemistry, we really don't understand that. So we may make blunder into your analysis. So if my collaborators give me some time to push, I said that please let me understand it first. I don't want to make any disaster. So because we have so many methods, if we given a data, if we don't check those assumptions, and if I give it, so I am just making a disaster to that data. So the analysis. So even after writing 500 pages of lines of codes, running in neural nets and other things, if I'm not satisfied, I said please don't give it. So just by methods we cannot publish them unless it is giving some insights. It is impossible. So that's how I think we all should approach. And here also in R, also in programming, this is exceptionally powerful. And ecologists, they are the best. Like so much they have contributed in taking R into a different level. So nobody can compete with this in terms of biodiversity analysis and understanding ecological problems and genetics and all these issues. It is too good too. It's too much powerful. Earlier time I used to track all these things, but now, as you can see, that we got involved into many other things with time. Many administrative things also comes up. I actually could not track it for a long time, but yes, I still do it. So that's for sure. I still do it. So as a next, immediately, now the question comes up. So this is a problem for you now. Now you understood that what are the possible problems, what are the possible changes in the fish that you are observing, the physiochemical responses. Now you want to identify what are the predictors that leads to these changes in the response. So that means we have a lot of variables. Some water quality parameters are there, right? You have a heavy metal concentration values are there, right? You have the level of what is called copper, and then I think zinc and MnO2 and max pH. All these values are there. So some I think abiotic qualities. So these information are available there. Now, which are these predictors are actually important in predicting the not gene, the expressions corresponding to the physiochemical parameters that you have got, because those are basically the indicators for the changes in the fish. Now, whether is that an important indicator like heavy metal, so that you can find it out how. Yesterday we have done regression, right? If you build a multiple linear regression, you build the multiple linear regression with those expressions like SODs, GPX, estradiol, estradiol, and other things like that. Data what you are having. So each of the variable represents the expressions of the fish, right? Now for each of the column like GPX, SOD, so these are the response variable. You consider one response variable and consider all water quality parameters as your predictors and build multiple linear regression models and check whether all the properties, all the assumptions are being satisfied or not, and see that which are the p-values for regression after getting the output, which are the p-values has a p-value less than 0.05. You consider those predictors as an important significant predictors in understanding understanding the response of the fish, right? So if these are the significant predictors, from there you can find it that like whether heavy metal contamination is significantly creating trouble or not. Clear? So as you can see that when we are analyzing the data, there are very much multiple directions. So only just fitting a regression is not going to this. So these actually, when you are writing a method section in your research paper, these informations actually make it very much informative. So I have seen some of the very nicely written papers. They have run some analysis, but they have given a so nice description of the descriptive analysis of the data they are having, it using various multivariate techniques and other things. This is too good. So that means all possibilities, all worst thing being considered, right? So I think this is what about this multi-dimensional scaling. And there is other thing which you have discussed about, which is principal component analysis. Now this is maybe a homework for you can be given, that you run for each of the species given this data and consider that as a response each of the like physiochemical parameter, and you build a regression model, multiple regression model, see that which of the predictors are coming out to be significant. Actually, you know that the problem starts again there. So in a sense that when we do not have much more number of rows, and but we have a very large number of columns, this variable selection becomes a problem. That which variables are being selected, or the predictions, which are significant predictors. See, those now these are being very heavily popular, which in none of our earlier workshops also we have not talked about it, like the ridge regression, lasso regression, robust regressions, where basically different kinds of optimizations being done and automatically the variables got cut, which are not important. Elastic net. So now these are also extremely popular amongst ecologists, and we have recently with one of my collaborators we have applied it also and got the significant predictors that we have got. So these are the methods nowadays. Nowadays is becoming very popular and very useful. These are algorithmically they are very nice. But I don't think with this such an applied workshop people are still using it, because what I observe in different places, they start with regression and simple linear regression and stops there. So, but I try my best to cover something which we are doing. So it is not some like ideal situation. So as you can see that ideal situation, the errors always behave like a normal distribution. But it is with the real data, it is extremely difficult to find. And one more horror story. So this is a horror story. If you talk to the statistics friend and mathematics friend, those who are seeking help, they will say that R square, if it is not close to 0.9, you should not accept this model. R square 0.9 means 90% of the language is very clear here. 90% of the variance, 90% of the variation in your response variable is explained, adequately explained by the predictors in terms of a linear regression model. So here both are important. What is response, what are predictors, and what is the model, that is also important. So that means it is linear regression model. If you fit linear, you make it quadratic, it might happen that the that more increment is there, maybe 0.95. So what is the mistake there? Because that is the lack of knowledge from our side. That when we are saying that unless 90% of the response is not explained, you should not submit it to the journal, it is very, very wrong. Because we do not know about the domain, how much uncertainty involved in biodiversity and ecology research. So there is a very nice article by written one of the researchers who have actually studied some 10 years of research publications published in top journals, top 10 journals, something like ecological, like ecology letters, ecology, and some of these journals. And he reported that the average R square reported by the researcher is approximately 0.4. Can you imagine that? You go to a finance, if you go to a statistician who had a finance background, he will never accept it. And lowest, I think lowest one has been reported 0.2 or 0.15 something. So you need to always, please never ever, because this is some mistake I think many people, with my experience, in lot of workshops, at least more than 600 700 people with we have interacted right now until now. This is one of the very much myth they are having, that if I go to my statistics friend, they are going to solve my result. And they will tell you that you don't have this much of R square, so no, it is all gone. No, it is not. The 3 years, 4 years of your research, the data you have collected, it is extremely valuable. It is only thing is that you are fitting some model which is not appropriate for that. As simple as it. You may possibly look for some other model that may not be the right model for it. Or even if it is the believe that this is the only option you left, then whatever it is, that is only you have to inform, right? That will never ever, in an objective analysis, will never ever reject a rejection. So even it is coming out to be 0.4, please, people are publishing ecology letters with 0.4. Then why are you worried about statistics, friend? So don't worry about it. So please do the analysis in an objective way, and whatever the information is you are getting, only report that. No issue. You really don't have to fear with that. So I think in future, if possible, I'll possibly be talking about more of this lasso and other these machine learning ideas. But I think I'll not disappoint with the PC also. Right now I'll show you a little bit of principle. If you have like what is called, if you have till now your strength, then I can talk about a little bit PCA. Is that fine?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, I don't mind. Okay, but I think I'll just talk about it in a different context. And this is some work which we have did some time back, but this is not yet published, and my collaborators, they asked that not to disclose it. So I'll just give a presentation. I'll just share some of the insights and codes. Definitely they are being recorded, and I'll share the code with you where the data will be changed, of course. So let me just where is it? Because there are at least more than 50 web pages are there. Just search in the Google, which will show you how to perform PCA. Okay, you can see my screen. You can see my screen.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, sir.
Yes. Okay. Okay. So I think this is one of the very interesting pictures. Sometime back I saw that the testing of hypothesis. What is type 1 error and type 2 error? This is the very much confusion people have. Why I should not control my type 2 error rather than type 1 error? That so this is an example which was given that type 1 error means a wrong rejection of hypothesis. So which one is more important? The type 1 error means you are asking a man that you are pregnant. So your device is so bad, it is telling a man is pregnant, right? But here it is showing that it is not pregnant, right? Okay, you use some other device, you may get ready. So that means this much guarantee your device should have. That is what is type 1 error. So this much, so if you, so where I was saying that type 1 error is 0.05, so you fix it there. So that means if you analyze this similar data from the same population 100 many times, maximum 5 times you may be wrong. So it is like giving a guarantee with the machine that you are having. That my machine, if you run it for 1000 many times, 995 times definitely it is going to work. Maximum 50 times it may give you wrong result. So that is why this is the serious case. So and we want to make sure the serious cases are being considered, like its cutoff should be provided to the user. And here then I have multiple options. Like if this does not work, I'll take something else, and then we'll try to see. Right, but that is why this type 1 error control must be there. So this is actually a data, something of this is a data which has been collected on basically psychological understanding the psychological behavior of the students of the kids. So there's linguistic. There are different experiments has been done on them, and based on those experiments, they have collected this data. So there, what does they exactly mean? It really does not matter. But this is a pairs of the data call equal to rate, so you can get this nice picture only with this single comment. So that is it. That is the most informative thing here. You can view the complete data. So if you see this data, this one means this relation between SV and relation between LM. So it's a scatter plot of LM and SV. So that's how it works. Right? And what is principal component? Let us try to understand it first. What is a PCA? Now, suppose that I am giving you a scatter plot of this form. It is a scatter plot, right? And there is a total variation. The variance is there over here, right? This is total variation. Now, if you consider, suppose that if you consider this is a line, can you see that along this line, the variance, the spread of the data is largest? Yes or no? Agree with this? So if we, but along this line, so if we consider along this line, the variance is till now here only. So the spread of the data along this line, if we project all this data over here on this line, this is very small. Whereas along this line, the variance in the data is largest, right? So this is the one which is known as a first principal component. So the direction along which the largest amount of variance being explained in your data, that is known as a first principal component. You know about orthogonality, like perpendicular. Then you consider after this is being determined, this green line is being determined, then you consider its perpendicular direction and see how much variance is remaining there. Many times it happens that if your total variation is there 100%, 80 to 85% variation is being explained along with one vector with this single line. along a direction, 90% of the variation being explained. So when 80% variation is being considered, and then the rest of the is perpendicular direction, very less variation is remaining. So this is known as a first principal component, and this is the second principal component. As you can see that it is a dimension reduction method. You had a two axis over here. If along this one direction gives you approximately 90% of the variation, so that means it is better you consider the data only along this axis. To transform this data and put on this axis and analyze that. So almost all the information, very less information is being gone over there, right? So similarly, these are the description of the data that some observations, they have done some experiments on the children's, and based on that they have collected this data. So variable description is always important. There are multiple functions: PRComp, PrinceComp, PCA, which is a part of the factom minor, DUDI PCA, which is AD4, or ACP, part of the AMSP package. So there are multiple options here are available by which you can do PCA. So these are the codes for PCA by which you can find out how to do this PCA. The first final code on picture on LC. See that this is very important. This is a plot of the first two principal components. After the PCA has been done, as you see that this PCA gives you, so this is the plot of PC1 and PC2. What it is doing, as you can see that this LMSV, linguistic and music, these guys seems to be forming a single group. So PCA also give you, when you plot it in a two-dimensional plot, it gives you a good idea that these four attributes possibly have a similar factor. So this is a help us in understanding the possible source of these four factor variables possibly can be clubbed, right? Whereas BK, inter-B and intra-B, this has a very much different aspect as compared to others. So principal component variance explained. So as you can see that first principal component explains approximately 40%. Second principal component, that means combined with 1 and 2, you get approximately 60% explanation. Then 3, you get approximately, so combined, it's a cumulative. So combined contribution of first, 2 and 3 principal component approximately 75%. So when you include all the 7 variables, it becomes 100%. As you can see that whenever I have some 90% or 85% variations being explained, it is better we can talk about, we consider this 4 or 5 predictors only, 4 or 5 variable components only. And there is some other method also when we collect these principal components and they are being used in a regression with a response variable. So that is something which is known as a principal component regression. So there is a library PSYCH. Using that also you can this is something known as a biplot. So this is the same picture we have got. So as you can see, there are similar plots you can find out in multiple ways. Very, very beautiful plots. Like with a single hit only, with a single comment only, you can get all these nice plots. And this is something factor analysis also you can perform. There's a fact null function is there, and there are different algorithms, Verimax and other algorithms also there by which you can do it. So anyway, I think today I do not have probably that time to explain all this. But this one I want you to little bit put emphasis on this. Understanding the correlation. This is a very, 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 very important part. That first of all, we really need to explore all the variables that you are having with you. We definitely we need to be sure that we understand their correlation structure very, very properly. This code I'll share with you. So for example, this is one of the code like correlation plot for all these variables. As you can see, this is also some pictures which are you can submit in your publications as well, in your thesis, wherever you are writing. So with SV, the correlation is 1. So correlation with the same variable is always 1, right? Whereas as you can see that SV and LM, they seems to have a moderate correlation, right? So the deep color means is a very high correlation. These all are 1. And very faded means there is a very less correlation. So intra P and LM, there is a very less correlation. Corplot is a package which is very useful to do that. The same description you can get it in this form also, where the values would be there. So values along with the colors are being faded. So smaller value means the colors are being further faded. Very beautiful picture. Grouping based on cluster. So only on the correlation plot itself, you can make clustering of the variables. That which are the variables, the cluster analysis you can do, you can perform. That these are the variables BK, SV, LM. These guys are turns out to be in a similar, so they seem to form a cluster. And similarly, inter B does not form cluster with anyone. Intra B they are also separate. And whereas music and dealing, they can form a cluster. So like clustering itself in a biodiversity research, it's very, very extensive, very, very big. So I should not do injustice to that. But at least you know that there is a corplot package is there by which you can explore this correlation structure very, very efficiently. Again, by when you're choosing the different kind of linkages are there when you're doing cluster analysis. So as you can see, that complete linkage, single linkage, average linkage, they all give you very much different. So you need to understand it. We need to delve deep further into that. What kind of linkage you are using for performing this cluster analysis, because ecology is very, very important. And if you can see the clusters, basically this gives you kind of a dendrogram, what you call it. Now, in how many clusters possibly you can break it for the current data? So as we can see that here we found out something. Core plot tells you that 1, 2, 3, 4, some 4 clusters possibly could be. If you cut this dendrogram over here, so that means for this line I have this one cluster. For this line I have this one cluster. For this line I have one big cluster. For this line what I have big clusters. Now these are the distributions of the data in each of the clusters. So this is 1, this is 2, where the most of the observations are being over there and some of them are coming over here. So I think I don't.
Can you hear us, sir? No problem. Easy. Yes, outside. Sir, are you able to hear us?
Here, one message. திரும்ப வருவார், திரும்ப கனெக்ட் பண்ணுவார்.
Oh, I think I just lost a connection in between.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yes. Okay, so I think that is it. So about the clusters. So I'm not sure whether you could see the last picture or not. Maybe I can just show you the last picture maybe.
Okay.
This is just for a pictorial purpose only. So as you can see that you can have a very nice visualizations of how what is the number of clusters you should consider, and there are functions also in R uh, which actually does it very easily for you, and you can do a lot of experimentation with this. Okay, so I think that's it from my side. So just in a summary, I just want to summarize it a little bit. That we have done simple linear regression, we have done multiple linear regression, we have done pre-sampling methods, bootstrapping, and we have also seen non-metric multidimensional scaling, which is a very powerful method. And at the end, it is very less time we got. So PCA, principal component, I could only just give you a view of that. That is only what I could give. But I think the codes which are being shared with you, those are analyzed for the real data. And since it is a it's a skill development program, I tried my best to discuss about the worst cases scenarios. So we have other nicely presented PowerPoints also, which talks about all ideal cases, which I multiple times I told it. But I feel that when we are talking about the researchers, PG students and all, at least when I was a PG student, I was expecting it. That where the most of the problems are there, worst cases are there, I should get knowledge with respect to that. So that is why for that purpose, and both the times I considered real data and what are the difficulties we have seen. We did not get expected R square, and that is what is the reality. So let's face it. And R is an exceptional support which will help you to get into the right direction. And lot of help file is there. Lot of packages are there which will lead to the right direction. No doubt with that. With that, I'll stop my talk today.
So thank you, sir. Your lectures make one of the techniques made this skill development program really a skill development program. Actually, your contribution towards way of telling the things.
Hello, are you able to hear me?
And parts of the also, sir. So we have to. There is no mere words to thank, but there is no other option. So far away from here. So we thank with wholeheartedly, and thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I really look forward to.
Yes, sir. We will collaborate in future, and
sure.
yes, sir.
Real pleasure.
I think it can help us to.
And please drop anybody of you have any trouble, please drop an email to me. So with very high probability you will receive the reply of that email.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, and thanks to all of you for your patience.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I'm logging off. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.